Hello there, friends. I'm Scott Wakefield, lead pastor at First Christian Church of Greene County, Tennessee, and I'm here today with
Thomas Callen.
Kimber, Callen.
And we're going to have a Coffee Convo. Coffee Convos is an opportunity to get to know about the work of God in the lives of our friends. And Thomas and Kimber are new friends who hail from Mississippi, and they are newly arrived in God's country of East Tennessee.
That's right.
To work at Longview Ranch. And so give us a little bio about who you are, where you're from, and how many kids you've got, and whatever comes to mind.
Yeah.
In all of that.
Yeah, so both of us are born and raised in Mississippi. We grew up about probably 2 hours from each other. And we actually met at a summer camp in Mississippi.
Cool.
And, it was both of our first experience at a summer camp. Had never gone to summer camp before.
So your first experience at camp, and you came away married.
Not that
I mean,
quick.
I'm sure there's some time in between there. But.
That's right.
Yeah.
There was a couple of years in there. But yes.
Kids.
Yeah.
Parents, that's what happens when you send your kids to camp. No, I'm just kidding. Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, I tell everybody, because a lot of people talk about how many relationships are formed at camp. And I always tell people, I'm like, I mean, what's more attractive than, complete walls down, sharing the gospel, being silly, doing funny skits, silly songs, playing games, all hot and sweaty. Like, that's pretty awesome,
And then the campfire at night.
That's right, the sharing, the s'mores.
That's great.
But yeah, so both Mississippians decided I think both of us were just kind of looking for something to do during the summer that was meaningful, something that was, we both had grown up in the church and had both been a part of, VBS type things. And,
sure.
And so we just kind of happened to be there. We didn't really know what to expect. And sure enough, we met each other and connected really quick. But really also that summer just both of us just really found our love for camp. And we both happened to also be going to Belhaven.
Okay.
And so, obviously we continued to get closer at Belhaven, but also this love for camp just continued to grow in both of us, and we went back many summers, and I ended up she went in as a biblical studies major, and ended up changing to elementary ed. But I came in as a music major, and because of camp, changed to biblical studies.
Okay.
Just because I thought, man, that is just the most fun, the most fulfilling thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
And so that's where I don't know if I will end up in camp, but that's what I wanted to, the direction I wanted to start heading.
Yeah. And here you are in camp ministry, and
here we are.
3 kids.
A lot of years later. Yeah.
Cool.
So, we went through college, was big involved in this camp, and loved it. Graduated, we moved to Vicksburg, Mississippi, did youth ministry for a couple of years, and then just realized, if I'm going to stay in ministry, probably need to know my Bible better. Through teaching, through meeting with students, I just was like, you know what, I really need to actually go a little deeper and be, taught how to preach, work, build some of those skills and
cool.
And so ended up going to Reformed Theological Seminary, and for the last probably 6 years, is that 6 years? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I say we because it's a joint thing for sure.
Well, if you're a family that's in ministry, it's kind of a joint thing, whether you like it or not, in lots of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a calling for all.
Yep.
Yeah. So, what did you first see in this guy?
We had the same sense of humor.
Ah, really?
Yeah.
Which is what?
Well, that summer would say Brian Regan.
What?
Comedian Brian
Yeah,
Regan.
Brian.
You guys are Brian Regan fans?
Yeah.
We've seen him.
Oh,
Yeah, he's
I
good.
have twice.
Nice.
He's the best.
He is good. Yeah.
So good. Yes.
So it's kind of.
So silly, goofy.
Yeah.
It's good to
Yep,
hear. It's good
definitely.
to
And
hear.
that plays into the camp, like the silly, goofy,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That's
just kind of what camp is. But
He
yeah,
also has like this adrenaline side.
that's true.
So it was also all
We
like
can already
the,
tell. We can already tell he's got that.
It was
adrenaline.
also all the backflips and
Backflips.
Yeah.
You can do-
unicycling.
Oh,
stuff
so
like
you
that.
do
So,
crazy stuff? Are you a juggler? Do you
I
jump through
juggle.
fire hoops?
I've never jumped through a fire hoop, but I do. I kind of always say the faster, the higher, the better. I've toned it down a little bit for since I've had kids.
Yeah. Adulthood
yeah,
and kids and
a little bit.
responsibility.
But man, I mean, I am all for the adventure. You
Cool.
know,
So you're cut from camp cloth.
love it. Yeah.
I'm glad there are
Yeah.
people like you.
Yep.
That's cool. So you have 3 kids.
That's right.
Tell us a little bit about
Yep.
your kids, and we actually have a question sent in about your kids. What is a unique trait of each of your kids?
Well, let's start with Copeland.
Copeland is 6.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
He loves Legos.
Like
Yeah.
weirdly, maybe too much.
I saw him carrying.
Yes.
Yeah, he brought
He was
Legos.
carrying something around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
cool.
He'll build according to the instructions, but then he also breaks it down and recreates his own.
So will he
Things with it.
start with the instructions
Yes.
and always do it the right way first?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And then once he does that once, it is the sky's the limits.
Yeah.
Cool.
Really, he likes to create. I mean, he loves Legos, but he will create with craft supplies. But you'll walk in and he will have taken a yo-yo and a chair and blocks and all these things, and he's got a trap. He's
Some
gonna
sort of Rube Goldberg
he's gonna catch a
machine with
rabbit
whole
or
bunch
something.
if
Yeah.
you walk in the door, some contraption.
Yeah, it's gonna.
That's
Oh,
cool.
and I have found some of these in the middle of the night, turning off lights, falling into one of his traps.
That's
So,
awesome. He's a little
yeah.
engineer. My brother was that way.
Really
He's
nice.
always taking apart stuff and putting stuff together. And
Yeah.
So Copeland is, what'd you say, 6?
He's 6. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Into Legos. I had a friend who had a Lego room. And I used to think, I can't wait to go to his house because he had everything.
That's
and
right.
I had like tiny little small Lego sets. Yeah, cool. All right. So Copeland the engineer.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, he wants to be a builder.
Cool.
That's what he'll tell you.
All right.
Then we have Eleanor, who's 4.
Cool.
Our little
And-
diva.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
She
Yeah.
she loves dancing, singing.
Cool.
Dress ups.
Yeah.
So she's very girly and
She
into.
She is girly to
performing.
the.
And
She wants her nails painted. Most days when she comes home from school, she will. I mean, I'm talking the moment she comes in. She runs upstairs and comes down with her mermaid dress on, or she comes down with her
Yeah.
princess dress on,
Yeah.
and that's what she wants to wear the rest of the day.
Our 9-year-old was that way.
Yeah.
As soon as she gets home, she wants to do something like get in PJs or do something in. She had an Elsa
Mm-hmm.
dress
yeah,
thing, and for
Yeah.
sure. All right, cool. So
100
diva.
100
Diva's the
110% personality in everything she does. I mean, spunky.
Cool.
She's like, I mean, Copeland likes to sit and play, and he likes to play with other people too, but Eleanor is the more of the social, wants to.
Extroverted.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Cool.
For sure.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Tell us about Roman.
Roman is 16 months.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
He turned 1 in February. And
He likes to eat. Loves to eat. Probably more than any of our kids. We joke. We're like, man, we could if we didn't cut him off, he would just continue and never be full.
Huh. I feel that way sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. But he's super chill. We're still, obviously, he's 1. We're still learning what his personality is going to be like.
Sure.
But he is just, for the most part, pretty easygoing.
How have your other kids adapted to having a little kiddo around?
They love him.
Yeah, they're all best friends.
Yeah. Cool.
And they're all pretty close in age, and so,
Yeah.
it's been pretty easy.
That was one thing for me that I always looked at other sibling relationships, because there were just two of us, my brother and me, and he is 6 years younger. And so our friend groups were different. It's not like we hung out with the same age friends, and we were never really in school at the same time.
Right.
And so I always was like, I wanted more of that in ways that I felt like I didn't get as much. And also we moved a lot in my childhood, in the fishbowl of preacher and professor's kid. We moved a lot all over the U.S. And so I always had this like inner, they have a sense of place and rootedness with their family, even if they didn't geographically so much. And I felt like both of those were not as rooted as I wanted it to be. So I hear those kinds of things, and I'm like, that's super cool, because that's going to continue to be an important part of their personal family, faith, geographical rootedness, etc. Yeah. Even if you do move, it's not a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, and I've seen that with my family. So I have 10 kids in my family.
I was about to say.
A lot of people in my
I was
family.
thinking, and so you know what that's like.
Yes. And so all my best friends are like my siblings.
Yeah, sure.
And whereas, you said we were never in school the same, we were all homeschooled. So we were all in school in the same room. And then, all my brother's friends were my friends. And but what that means too is that all of our kids' best friends are their cousins, So until we moved here, we went to school, we went to church with cousins, and so there's definitely like that tight family, bond with siblings and cousins. It's been pretty cool.
It's hard to leave.
Hard
Feels
to
like a
leave.
big transition to leave that and to come here.
It was. Yes and no. We were so thrilled about the opportunity to come out here and do what we're getting to do, and it's still new. We're still learning the ropes for sure.
Yeah. We'll definitely talk about that.
Yeah.
Soon,
but yeah, leaving our church, leaving our family, taking our kids away from grandparents and cousins, and it was tough.
Yeah. Your family lives in that area too. Lots of kids in your family. Who'd you grow up with?
I have an older brother who's 7 years older
Okay.
than me.
Gotcha. So what's it like being a part of that family? Craziness?
Yeah, so he's number 5.
Okay.
So I feel like I hit the transition period where I saw life as they still had many children at home.
Yeah.
And then I've seen now how they've gotten everybody out of the house and like just their life now of having adult kids.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I don't feel, a lot of people ask me if it's overwhelming. I don't think it's been overwhelming for me, but I've kind of learned how to like step back and find a quiet place, and
Sometimes
Step back and find a quiet
you'll
place.
find like, where are all the sister-in-laws?
Yeah,
they're
Thomas.
all on the back porch.
Yeah.
Hiding from all the craziness.
They took a walk.
Yeah, for sure.
then sometimes my inner teacher kicks in with all the children around to provide order.
Yes.
To provide order.
Yes.
Because somebody has to corral the chaos.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
So you both lived in Mississippi your whole lives before now?
Yep.
And you've been in Tennessee not long.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very new.
So you may not have much in the way of answers to this question, but what do you notice already that's maybe different about East Tennessee versus the deeper South?
No mountains in Mississippi.
True story.
To,
That's why I say welcome to God's country. Because everywhere you look, there's like, there's a nice range. Oh, and there's a nice range. There are like 4 ranges. That's why they're Blue Ridges.
There you go.
I had that moment a few times. I'm driving, coming over a hill, even in the city. Here in the town part, every once in a while you come around a curve or you go up to the top of a hill as you're driving and you look, oh, that's nice. And then you go, oh, those are the Blue Ridges. That's why they, yeah, it's cool. It's nice.
Yeah, so for years we have, we're outside people. We love to hike. We love the mountains. We love to adventure.
Yeah.
And so for years we've kind of joked at how nice it would be. Like, man, that would be so cool to live out here. It would be so cool. You know, like how many times we've vacationed in the Smokies or in the Chattanooga area. Because those are the kind of the closest mountains to Mississippi.
Do a lot of folks from that area come to Pigeon Forge, Sevierville, Gatlinburg, Chattanooga?
Yeah, I think so. Gatlinburg area for sure.
I'm sure they're also going to other cooler beachy places as well. But
right, yeah. I didn't mean cooler.
Like, sorry, East Tennessee veterans.
I think most people, if they're going to go to the mountains, those are the mountains they're going to. Okay. Like to go to, like we have the Ozarks that were about as far in Arkansas, but they're not as big.
They're not as old.
They're great. We've
mountains,
definitely spent some time there. But anyways, we've just talked for years about how fun it would be to be in the mountains, and our kids love it, and so that is really cool. That was definitely a bonus.
But each of us grew up kind of small town. I grew up in a smaller than Greenville, rural town.
Super small.
So, in a way, for me, it kind of feels like coming home. I also grew up out in the country, and so I like the green trees against the blue skies.
We got plenty of green and plenty of blue sky.
So it feels very similar.
Cool.
Just with mountains.
Yeah.
As far as like culturally, I don't know that I've been here long enough to to know like, oh, these people are,
Have you had anybody that you don't know just wave because you happen to be driving by and we're in the middle of nowhere, Mossheim Midway?
But that's also in Mississippi.
I was going to say, I bet that's the same in Mississippi.
It is.
Okay.
It is.
Now, here some of my theory about that is, hi, I'm glad you're here. It's good to see you. It's also, I want you to know that I'm here because if you get onto my property, I will shoot you.
Yeah.
Or hey, I'm here and I'm a regular and I'm rooted and I'm letting you know that people like me are here. I'm not sure what my philosophy is on what people really mean by that.
What's the background?
What's the angle?
Yeah.
But when we first got here from Chicago, and it's not like downtown, like the town of Greenville. I mean, it's not like it's a small rural town. It's pretty large.
Yeah, it reminds me of Laurel, honestly.
Okay.
Like about the same feel.
So sure. I'm driving in a residential area, and people are waving at me. Now, we've been here 20 years, and there's less of this than there used to be. But people are waving at me, and I'm like, who are you? And I'm
Do I know that person?
Oh, this is just because, this is just because we all live in the same place.
Yep.
And so, I bring all that up because I'm now the weirdo who does it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here's why I think about this. I do it because I want those new folks from California or New Jersey or New York or wherever they're moving in from, because we have a lot of folks moving in. I want those folks to know, this is my neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's funny. So let's talk camp.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk ministry. We have a number of good little questions here about all that. But start off by what's your function at camp, and what were you brought here 3 weeks ago to begin to do?
Yeah. So my title is the program director.
Okay.
Kimber, what is your title?
Support program director.
Volunteer wife.
Support
program. Just like, youth minister a couple years ago.
Director
support volunteer. Yeah. But yeah, so program director. So if you want to go technically what the job is, it is pretty much anything with when we have people on campus, that's going to be my baby. And so, summer camp, that's all the planning, recruiting, figuring out what it's going to look like, hiring, dealing with parents, that's all going to be my baby.
Right.
During the off season, we have conference groups that come in, church groups, school groups, women's groups, men's groups, youth retreats. Some of them are outside groups that we just kind of host.
Yeah.
Some of these groups that we put on,
Put out
we
there,
bring
yeah.
in speakers, we bring in our own chaperones. That's all going to be kind of under my role. And then the last thing is that there's this an internship that's kind of been going on for the last year. It's called Live Bold, and the idea is it's geared towards college students that age, and so you live on campus, and you have your own little living space, a little apartment that you live on, and the year is geared towards discipleship.
Yeah.
And so, yes, you work at camp. There are responsibilities that you have, but we're also, meeting with you regularly, and we're reading books together regularly. We're going through, I think last year they went through the entire Bible. They read through the whole Bible in a year. They have these interns involved in service, and they went to Bolivia and did camp in Bolivia. And, the idea is just trying to pour into equip these college students.
You almost said kids. Maybe.
Yeah. I actually almost said students.
Okay, all right. I'm just kidding.
But you don't have to be a college student. In fact, if you are going to be a college student, I think it's you might end up having to be like part-time, just all that this internship entails.
No,
but
I know that it's a lot. One of our FCC kids. Sorry, Tessa, you're not a kid.
Yeah,
is there.
Tessa, that's right.
Yeah. I've heard a lot about it. Of course.
Yeah, Tessa's great. So that's technically like all that my job is. Now, right now, we're kind of building a team at Longview.
Right.
And so, there's a lot more that goes into, like right now we've got groups there. We're doing staff training, and I'm helping serve food, and we're cleaning bathrooms.
Yeah,
and,
you're doing a little bit of everything.
Right. So everything is really just a little bit of everything. It's kind of all hands on.
I'd be interested, for the sake of folks who may not be as aware as folks who are like in it and live in it, how much of that, because in ministry world it can be like all consuming. It's all encompassing.
Yeah.
And not only is the work itself all encompassing, in a way that can be like, okay, we have to have some boundaries, and I need some sanity, please.
Right.
And,
yeah.
I need to sit on the back porch with the others. And put on top of that this idea that's like, you feel called to this ministry because it changes hearts and lives. You know that the gospel does work in these students, these kids who are coming to camp, the adults, people who are coming to retreats. So you're called to it, and you have this sense of mission about it, and so do other people know that.
Right.
You put those three things together, and it can be like, whoa, chill out. I need to be able to breathe. I need to do some things for my own kids and family and for myself to ensure sanity. Give us a little bit of a window into, and I'm thinking this because you alluded to the cleaning bathrooms and other things. I'm a program director. Oh, really? What's that mean? It means I put together the
I do everything,
programs.
yeah.
and people are like, oh, that sounds really awesome. And it is.
Yeah.
It's great. It's important work. No doubt about it. But it also has this not easily well-defined stuff that's everything.
Right. Yeah. For sure.
How much of that goes on in camp life and ministry, families, etc., and what does that look like in some practical terms? Like, what kinds of things are you doing? How much time is involved in that, etc.? And I do want to loop back to like, hey, let's talk about the vision of LVR and what you're doing at camp so that people can hear some of that too.
Yeah, I would love to, for sure.
But give us a little bit more about that behind-the-scenes stuff in practical terms.
For sure. So, again, we've been there for 3 weeks,
Sure.
and that's and I think I've been working for like 2 weeks. So right now, it's probably a little different than what it will be the rest of the year.
Yes.
It's also a little more than probably it will be even this time next year, because I will have planned the summer and kind of have a better understanding of what. So right now, it's kind of all in. Early mornings, late nights. I mean, I'm gone a lot right now. Just trying to. Right now, we're doing staff training as well as hosting a group. So it's a little crazy. But the nice thing about camp ministry is, so we live on campus.
Yes.
The nice thing about camp ministry is that a lot of that, like the kids can come hang out with me and during a lot of that. And so as we're going from activity to activity and we're teaching our staffers, hey, this is how archery works. This is how the water slide works. These are the rules. This is how every time we go to a different activity, before we leave, I say, okay, how can we use bow and arrows to share the gospel? And then we talk about how like missing the mark or, different ways that we can point people to Jesus. And then, we go to the water slide and it's like, hey, how can we use the water slide to point people to Jesus? But the kids are able to just like walk on the trails with us and just, hang out with us, at meal times.
So the flexibility and integration of the family as a whole, the kids being around to participate at the most occasionally here and there perhaps, but at least see mommy and daddy in this environment and see you working. Okay.
Yeah, and they get along great with the staff. I keep saying I feel like that they kind of won the lottery. Like they live in this like super cool place.
Yeah.
They've got kids coming in. Campers coming in. Copeland's going to be a camper next week.
Cool.
They're and then throughout the like right now they've got staffers here that are just loving on them and playing games with them.
Yeah.
And it's just I can't think of a cooler, more fun way to like raise a family.
Right.
It's like we get to do life together. Right now it's a little crazy, but it's gonna as we kind of continue to. I learn my job. We learn Longview Ranch as we get kind of more settled.
Yeah.
That's really the nature of camp is that it is you are on a lot, but you're also getting to do life with your family while you do it.
Right.
And that's super. I think we're super blessed to have that. To be able to.
Yeah.
Even when I'm at work, I can take Copeland around camp with me.
Right.
And
so there's less because of some of the flexibility and the full integration of the experience. You don't feel the pressure to be on in any sort of disingenuous way. It's all
right. Yeah. So there's also and again, 3 weeks, so still learning how it works.
Yeah, sure.
And everything. But there have been times even through staff training where because we're all kind of tag teaming how
different LVR staff.
Yes.
Different parts.
So whether it's Matthew, myself, or Nick, a guy who's been the camp director, we're kind of tag teaming training week, and so we've all picked like, hey, this evening I'm just going to be out, and I'm off limits. I turn off my radio, I go home, and I'm done. And everybody just covers, and so each night somebody's off.
Right.
And there's Matthew, the executive director. He wants me to be a family man. He's a family man. He understands this.
So built into the system are
these little chunks of, and during the summer there'll be, throughout the week we'll have chunks that are like this morning, this week I'll be off. This evening, and we may even have a staffer come into our home and babysit our kids so we can have time together.
Right.
Because
I was going to ask some about that too because. You have to be intentional about that.
Yeah, you got to.
and keep the more militantly than most folks want to admit.
Yeah.
And not just ministry people, but folks who are not living that life. You have to more militantly keep those margins intentionally. Otherwise, they will overtake everything. That's super important. That's helpful. I'm sure. I mean, I have no great surprise that Matthew builds that in for you all. That's big.
And you want to say something?
I think on the flip side of like having the off times, like it was when we were in the process of looking at Longview, it was important for us that it was like a family kind of place. That even though he's employed, I wanted to be involved because I love camp ministry as well. So even if he comes home and is brainstorming things like after hours. It's still fun for me because I want to give input and I like to hear
You're
about
a part
him.
of that process, right?
So it's fine if it the work comes home.
Right.
In that way.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, for sure.
I've noticed that people looking at ministry jobs, whether it's camp or church, much more than used to be, on the forefront of their minds are these kinds of questions like, can I do this and be sane? What kind of guardrails are built in intentionally? Right. How does the organization help me do that? And at the same time, I'm glad you talked that way about it, because there's a sense in which it's unavoidable that this is we're together in this. Mm-hmm. And I was going to ask you all this a little bit earlier. When you all discussed, hey, this is what we're doing with our lives, the call to camp ministry is as much something, even though you may not be holding the title he is, it's as much something you have to be on board with every bit as much as he is.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. How did you guys, and I promise after this we'll get into more LVR vision stuff, but how'd you guys decide that about Longview Ranch? What were some of the things that helped confirm for you in this season, God wants us here?
You want to go? You want me to go?
Well, I think one of the main things is that we weren't really in a point where we were seeking out a job, and Matthew came to Thomas about a position, and I think for me one of the most clear signs about it was that Matthew didn't have like a deadline that he needed us here by.
Right.
So
he wasn't like urgently just trying to plug a hole.
I need you right now.
It wasn't a spot came open and there were all these applicants. We weren't like fighting for a spot or anything. It was very much like, is Longview a good fit for us, and are we a good fit for Longview? It was a longer process of figuring out and making sure that we worked for
together.
Each other.
Right.
We didn't want to come and hinder Longview.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure. And I think that's super important in ministry. We've experienced that a number of times here, trying to put folks in positions and find the right person. And people start going after a year of you looking for something. Are we any closer? Is anything happening? Yes, I promise something's happening. We thought this person would be right for us and us for them. But as we got into discussion, because I think that's one of the most important pieces of it.
Well, and whereas
the fit is important.
We weren't like Kimber said, like we weren't necessarily like
looking for this camp ministry. At the time, like I was just trying to finish seminary, and like keep our heads above water, and like still try to be dad and husband But we knew, like we have been talking camp ministry for years, and we love camp ministry. And like I said, we've been involved in camp ministry for a long time, and so that it wasn't like when Matthew reached out to us, we were like, oh, camp ministry, that's an idea. Yeah, that's totally out of nowhere.
We've been pursuing, and both of us are passionate about sharing the gospel through camp ministry, through creation, through getting people outside. But also specifically, like we've kind of been rattling ideas off about, we also just love to be on the trail, like specifically kind of roughing it. Like there's something unique that happens when you get people a little uncomfortable, like they're dirty, they're tired, and it's just a really neat opportunity to be able to just, people's walls just come down. And we love to hike. We love to be on the trail. We don't mind the dirty and the sweaty. We're good to,
So you're adventurers, huh?
Yeah, and we've just found as we've gotten to be a part of a couple of different, whether it was like when we were in youth ministry and different times, we've gotten to be a part of these like adventures, and just realize like there's something unique that happens in those type of settings that you're able to have conversations. And get places spiritually.
You get further faster. You really can.
That is so much harder other places.
Yeah. I've noticed more recently as the internet in my pocket age has happened.
Right. Yeah.
and everybody's experiencing some version of info whelm. That when we get people in creation, it's almost like people are like, "Oh yeah, this is actually real, isn't it?" I know it sounds a little bit too definitive and silly, but I think that's actually going on much more than we realize now. So I think culturally, it's even more the case than it used to be, that when you retreat, when you get out into nature, when you're not around the phone, when you're not in your normal element, because not only is it the internet in my pocket, it's the pace of life around us all the time with everyone, in a way that is this sort of, it feels oppressive. People don't name that well, but it's going on in them. I think it's even more important. I've noticed that recently, and I've thought, you know what? When we get people away and out in creation, they go, huh, yeah, I guess God is big and I'm small, and that means lots of things, and they are freer to relate to people in a relatively organic, normal way.
Well, and that's also you have like not only the nature aspect of just being able to just like bask in this beauty, but then you also have the beauty of like the camp culture of like, you've got staffers. Some people know each other, some people don't, but you're in this together. You're all kind of unplugged. You're all kind of like serving. We've talked about the best way to get to know people is to serve together, right? And
Preach.
And then it's silly and it's funny and you're skits and like you're kind of forced to do maybe some things that you don't really feel that comfortable doing.
Oh yeah.
And like, it's just like on top of being out in this beautiful place, out in God's creation, you have this like really unique, organic, like you said, human connection where you are like getting to bond with people and kind of, even having, some of like, growing up, I remember like I had great Christian friends growing up, but it was at camp and it just because it fosters some of those conversations. And I just thought, man, I've never had conversations like this with my peers, like never. And I had great Christian friends growing up. And it just kind of like, it showed me what like Christian community could be. What is Christian community? I've never experienced that, Since then, we've gotten to experience it we went to a Christian college. But yeah, camp has that unique ability. And so what's cool about it is that, yes, it is the kids' camp. It's a summer camp. We are trying to share the love of Christ to these campers through fun, friendship, and adventure. And that happens to the kids, but it also, I would say, if not equally, we are equipping our staff and we're, pouring into them. And we, I tell our staff, every time you're sharing the gospel with a camper, you're hearing it and you're preaching it to yourself and you're reminding yourself of what Christ has done through his life, death, and resurrection. And you cannot be not, the more you are around that, the more it will change you. It will, affect who you are. It will make you want to be more like Christ. And so, as the summer goes on, as the staff are sharing the gospel with the kids, we are getting to share the gospel with the staff, and we, as well as the kids. And what's cool is that like every summer that we've been a part of camp, we leave changed. We leave, closer to the Lord, closer to each other. Yeah. And then we see that with the staff too. They're not only making incredible memories, incredible lifelong friends, but they're also we get to watch them grow in their understanding and their love for the Lord.
Yeah. Staff are there for the duration of the summer weeks. How long is that for y'all?
So summer staff is 6 weeks. That's including like training week, day camp, a couple of overnight camps.
And at LVR right now, you've got, 35, 40 staff?
We have about 20, a little, I think around 20 right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's definitely a little smaller, I think, than most people would assume. But it's really cool because it allows, you know every one of those staffers, like very well, which is really cool.
Yeah. How many men's and women's retreats and things, whether it's not just non-summer, how many of those kinds of retreats and events come to y'all? And how many of those do you all put on?
Still learning all this.
Sure.
But
approximately.
yes.
Your guess would be better than
so
mine.
I know that I really have I don't even know how many groups come. I know that we've got groups throughout the year.
Yes.
Throughout the year. So I couldn't tell you exactly, but I do know that we put on at least 3 of our own conferences.
Okay.
There's a women's, there's a father-son, and then there's like a winter recharge for like high school.
Yeah. Okay.
And but I know that the plan is number one, we would love more groups. I mean the value of, like we talked about, to get away and I mean it's so important. So church groups, men's groups, whatever, like it's so valuable. So we would love more, but then also we've got a couple of ideas of new program ideas that we want more, like maybe like a survival day camp kind of thing, or a family camp. There are other, ideas that we're kind of working through that we'd love to put on as well.
So there is capacity for more groups
Yes.
to come and use you all throughout the non-summer months. And I was bringing that up because I wondered if there was more capacity. But because one thing I've always said is people don't realize that, at least local folks, especially even in Greene County, don't realize what a gem of a camp we have, like right here.
Yeah.
And a whole bunch of folks who've never been there, they come on to the, you've said campus, so maybe I should say campus. They come onto the campus.
Whatever.
I just always said camp.
Yeah.
They come on, they go, whoa, hey, I didn't know this place existed.
Right. Yeah.
Like, yeah. And you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. It's a lot cooler. There's a lot more stuff available there than people realize.
Yeah, right on the Nolichucky, too.
Yeah, it's right there. It's lovely. Yeah, it's super cool. So I've always said it's a gem that people don't even know is there.
Yeah.
So more churches using it, more groups using it locally. I was wondering if there's just capacity for it. So sounds like there is.
Yeah,
good
for sure.
So we have a bunch of questions that our staff have sent in, and we've covered a lot of these, but a few other things just to make sure that our staff feel like I've heard them and used their input.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So would you rather have a monkey butler or a robot butler, and why? And I'm pretty sure that Tyson sent that in. That's my guess.
Yeah, thanks Tyson for
Yeah.
that one.
Monkey or
I think
robot?
I got to go with a monkey.
Really?
Because the robot could turn on us. So monkey, I feel like I could.
You don't feel like a monkey couldn't turn on you?
No, that's true. That's a valid point.
Put him in a cage.
That's right. Yeah, robot will break right out. You know what I'm saying? So, Kimber, what do you got?
Monkey.
Yeah.
Really? Man, give me a
there are a
robot.
lot of different types of monkeys out there.
Well, I assume we could train a monkey, and
Maybe this is like a little monkey,
I don't know. I just think of monkeys as throwing feces at me.
Kind of like maybe not too far removed from having children. No,
Well,
just kidding.
Are pranks allowed at LVR?
They are not allowed.
Really?
It really is, and it really is in our rule book. And the reason is it's strictly.
You've got to have that rule at some level. Yes.
And here's the deal: is I love pranks. I am I'm a prankster. Love
Really?
it. But the deal is, and we're really trying to foster this with our staff, is that we are there with the goal. And we have each camper is going to be here for 1 week.
Right. And the goal is this kid hearing the gospel, and having a
we
good
want them to
time.
know who Jesus is
Right.
and fall in love with Jesus. We want them
Right.
to know that they are a sinner
Yeah.
and that Jesus is their only hope.
And
That's our
pranks
goal.
are fun in certain contexts, like for staff and people who know each other well and can at a certain level. Now, of course, it can get
Right.
it
Well,
can
so
get
and here's the deal with
crazy
pranks
if
is
you're a
like
conniving weirdo like you, apparently. But with the
you
kids,
gotta outdo the last one. That's where pranks become can become distracting. Is when
Absolutely.
you got this has to outdo this guy and this guy
and
has
when
to
you've
outdo
got a
this
kid
guy,
here, a
and-
prank like among staff, a prank culture can sort of feel like, oh, I'm not a part of that, and here are all these kids that you're supposed to be dealing with who are sort of left out, like it's a bunch of inside jokes. I mean, it's kind of funny to watch, but then you get this feeling that I'm not a part of it. Yeah, that's a good rule.
But does that mean that we don't have, silliness going on and shenanigans constantly?
I'm sure there's a lot of that. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah.
All right. And well, that answers the next question. If silliness and shenanigans are allowed at some level.
Oh yeah.
Are one or both of you a prankster? So apparently you are.
I am.
And what's wrong with you that you think that way?
Yeah, I don't know, but and I usually find that my friends are too. Kimber's not really a prankster.
No, I'm sarcastic. Prank with my words, right?
Yeah, I'm like, it would be. They would love to wake up and know that they're like water in their cabin, like the hot water is off. That would be hilarious for them,
Would it?
Although I do have a sister-in-law that I do admire her April Fool's Day jokes. This past year, she did. She served her kids dessert of ice cream, but it was actually mashed potatoes.
Nice.
And had sprinkles and
syrup on it. Yeah.
And they fell for it.
It was pretty good. They filmed it.
It's
good stuff.
That's good.
Yeah.
One of our staffers, who shall remain nameless, but is now the GM at our coffee shop downtown at Catalyst, shows up one day. I like Oreos, and he shows up one day with a special cookie, and he had made it look like it was a cookie, and it was
naturally. As Frank's.
It's a well-formed patty of espresso smushed down. It was blah. It was disgusting.
I was thinking you were going to say like toothpaste or like mayonnaise. It's the filling.
It was espresso.
Yeah.
So we always like to sort of end with a couple questions for people. What are you learning?
Yeah.
What's God teaching you lately? And then also, what are you excited or encouraged about? So what is God teaching you lately, and what are you excited and encouraged about?
You want to go? You want me to go?
I can go.
Go for it.
I think mainly patience.
Hmm.
In a lot of areas, patience with my children.
Yeah. Sure.
As a mom. And right now we used to have cousins within a couple miles of us.
Yes.
So they just have themselves, currently.
Yeah.
And so within that patience of waiting for community to kind of evolve, finding a church.
Yes.
Things that I know will come, that I've experienced through other moves, that it will come. I will find my people.
But you're feeling the vacuum now.
Yeah.
Which is why you're feeling the need to.
And we don't have good service or internet at our house. So.
No service.
That is
or internet.
That is not nothing.
So I know it.
Which she is a online grad student right now.
Okay.
So to be an online student with no internet, it's kind of
But we've
hard.
ordered something.
That's kind of hard.
We've ordered
How's
something.
that working?
It's gonna come, and so just patience for waiting to see. I know that the Lord provides good gifts.
Yeah.
And so just waiting and trusting Him.
Yep.
And realizing when those gifts have come.
Good stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I feel like definitely some of that for sure. I think the last year, and I feel like there's been kind of like these subcategories that the Lord's been really growing me. But in the last year, I think it's really been Him just like asking me like time and time again, like, am I everything to you? And like, we know the right answer.
Right.
Yeah,
Sure.
of course.
Right.
Of course, He's everything to me. But man, like, the last year, just through a bunch of stuff, was just a hard year. And we feel so blessed to be here. But I learned through a lot of that like, and a lot of things are of this world, and I'm holding too tightly to these things. And we've watched as the Lord has, I think about kind of the story of Ruth and Naomi, and you see them go through so much heartache in the beginning of the book, where there's a famine, and then like all the men in the family died, and they have to move back, and you have Ruth and Naomi, and it's like, is the Lord gonna provide for them? Are they gonna have food? What's gonna happen? Like these two widows, and
it's not just like worldly stuff that they were depending on, as we talk about worldly. It was like the rootedness of their lives, all sort of, and like in basic terms, gone. Yes.
Right. And you just see God working behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Laying out the pieces of the puzzle to fall into place. And Naomi and Ruth didn't see that, right? They didn't see that. They saw it after the fact. At the end, you can see that, like, Ruth and Boaz get together, and and at the very end, you see it says that I'm gonna butcher it, but it's pretty much just saying that Boaz fathered Obed, and Obed fathered David, or something along the lines of say, like, look, do you see God is literally, like, this whole time been working together this masterful plan, and like, you did have to go through some heartache, and they had to trust the Lord, but the Lord is faithful.
Well, and yes, those genealogical things at the end are picked up later on in the New Testament, and then talked about in its own version in Hebrews 11, as a way of saying, like, look at what God was doing, even though you didn't see it. The Messiah came from you.
Right.
And your faithfulness to listen to what God's doing, even though you have to wait, and it's patience that's being developed, and it may be different than expected, and you can't know 5 steps ahead. Right. You can only know a couple as he reveals it, and as you're being faithful and as you're coming along.
Yeah.
So what he's doing in all that is a much bigger deal.
Yeah. So I just feel like the Lord has brought us through this kind of a last year of, like, testing time, I would say, and it's just like, I kind of feel like now, being at Longview, we're able to see, like, oh, this is what God has been doing.
Right.
It's kind of like we're talking about the Exodus at summer camp this year, and when the Israelites are freed from slavery, they're on this journey, and they're going, no, this is the way.
Yes.
This is the right way to go, and God says, no, we're going this way.
Yes.
To the Red Sea, where you're.
This last year we were like, no, it would have been easier if we had gone this way. Yeah. And God's saying, no, I've got a huge provision for you if we go this way.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is something I am doing in your personal life, in your marriage, with your kids, for their development, for Longview, all of that, and even more.
Yeah.
That there's so many logistics to that we can't possibly even imagine handling, that he's putting together in ways that are for his glory and for our good.
Oh, yeah.
He's making us his people.
Right. Absolutely.
Well,
just like in Exodus.
Yeah, just like it. Yeah, I mean,
well, coming out of.
Yeah.
all of Scripture is saying the same. That's what's so beautiful about Scripture, is that it's all saying the same truths. It's all pointing the same things. But yeah, that's why. Like we were talking about in staff training the other night, that the reason the Israelites were in slavery, it says it. They were being fruitful and multiplying. The Lord had been blessing them, and Pharaoh didn't like that, right? And so he wanted to put an end to that, and he was fearful of that. And
it's funny how much the way out, exhados, the way out, is through difficulty and suffering that they were trying to avoid by doing something else and getting pots of meat and going back, blah, 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 when they were being fruitful. And the suffering was a part of that God wanted them to continue to make happen.
And God used some of those sufferings, slavery, the plagues, the fear of, the Red Sea, the wandering, and all this time, if you read through Exodus, constantly it's saying, so they know who I am, so they know the earth is mine, so the Egyptians know who I am. And he's, he allows us to go through these hard times, and he allows us to be in waiting periods. He allows us to, experience doubt, or, all these different things. so he's he's teaching us to rely on him. He's teaching us,
Yes.
he is the provider.
Yeah.
He is the big God who is in control. He's good.
That's right.
He's a covenant God that he was faithful back then. He's faithful now.
Mm-hmm.
And I am
The I wills
his.
still apply to
Right.
us,
Oh, yeah.
just like they did to
Yeah.
Abram and
Yeah. So I feel like, that's super broad. But I feel like he's just, for the last year or so, he's just been like, do you really believe that everything else can go away,
right,
and you're okay with just having me?
sure. Well, the way out, the Exodus, he is the way out.
He is, yeah. Way, the truth, and the life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So I'm such a detail, analytical, nerdy, negative jerk face that we try to end on a positive note.
Yeah.
So that's why the last question is intentionally, what are you excited or encouraged about?
Yeah.
So what are you excited and encouraged about?
I am excited and encouraged. I'm super excited to be at Longview.
Cool.
We're excited about. I'll speak for myself. I'll let you. But I'm excited for this new chapter. You know, new beginnings. But just specifically, the one thing we don't know what church we're going to be at. We don't know the friend group. There's a lot of unknowns. But we do know we're going to be at Longview, and I really like. The more we learn about Longview, the more we've been involved in Longview, the more we just really believe the Lord. This is a place that the Lord is blessing.
Yeah.
And He is. He is working. People are coming to know Christ here. The interns, I've just seen the depth of, they've been in this internship program for a year, and I didn't know them before the year, but there's a depth to those interns
Absolutely.
that I just can't wait to be a part of. I can't wait to help grow Longview. I can't wait for the campers to get here to be able to share Christ with them.
Yeah.
Can't wait for us to just kind of find our niche in this town and this community. So there's so many things that I am just feel so blessed. Cannot wait to be a part of. Just how is the Lord gonna? What is this next chapter gonna look like?
So the adventure is exciting for you.
Oh yeah, yeah. I actually do love change.
That's why I said
I don't like moving away from my family.
That's exactly what I meant.
I don't miss.
Sure.
That was hard, but at the same time, pumped to move away. Pumped for the adventure, pumped for the unknown, and that's exciting. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Same things, probably pretty similar.
Yeah.
I think mine's a little. I've been teaching the last 10 years, and so I'm gonna start homeschooling.
Yes.
So I'm excited to experience that.
Yeah.
With him.
That's cool. That's a big deal. It's a big deal.
It is.
Excited to be able to do that with your kids, for your kids, in a way that's very, all of our kids have been not homeschooled, and I was not homeschooled. Tons of family friends who are.
Sure, yeah.
I go off to Wheaton College my freshman year, and my freshman year roommate is the homeschooler of the year nationwide, apparently, according to two different homeschooling groups. Anyway,
didn't know that was a thing.
Oh, well, no, it's a thing. It's a thing.
Yeah.
And so I started realizing, oh, wow, there's this whole world of crazy Christian families doing this homeschooling thing. Sure. It's super cool to be able to be in the details and the nitty-gritty of your kids' foundation for understanding and filtering the whole world. Super cool. Yeah. Very, very important work that is our responsibility.
Yep, it is.
You should be encouraged. I mean, freaked out.
Not that
and
homeschooling
it's a big deal. It's a lot of work.
The best way. It's different for different families.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But I love teaching, and I think being a teacher is a side of me that the people closest to me have never seen. Because I'm in the classroom.
Right.
And so I'm excited to share that part of me with my kids.
Cool.
And let them see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Got some folks I want to make sure you hook up with and know.
Yeah, that's a shout out. if
Yeah.
you're homeschooling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
no
Find me.
kidding.
Well, thanks for coming, y'all.
Yeah.
Thanks for telling us about the cool stuff going on in your family and at Longview, and for joining us for a coffee convo.
Yeah.
Voila.
Yeah.